Grad comes from the Latin noun gradus, step or degree, and the verb gradi, to step, walk. A grade is a step up or down on a scale of some kind, and a gradual change takes place in small steps. Gradation: 1. A series made up of successive stages. 2. A step in an ordered scale. In the fall, the leaves show gradations of color from deepest red to brightest yellow. In the Boy Scouts, gradations of rank move upward from tenderfoot to Eagle Scout. A violin or a voice can produce gradations of musical pitch too small to appear in written music. In the 18th century, Jonathan Swift could even write of the several kinds and gradations of laughter, which ladies must daily practice by the looking-glass. Degrade: 1. To treat someone or something poorly and without respect. 2. To make the quality of something worse. They had feared for years that television was degrading the mental capacities of their children. In Shakespeare's King Lear, the old king is degraded by the daughters he has given his kingdom to. He finds it degrading, for instance, when the number of his guards is reduced from 100 to 25. His degradation seems complete when, after going mad, he's reduced to living in the wilderness. As you can see, degrade is often a synonym for humiliate. Gradient: 1. Slope, grade. 2. A continuous change in measure, activity, or substance. Steep temperature gradients in the atmosphere are usually associated with unstable conditions. Any slope can be called a gradient. In the interstate highway system, the maximum gradient is 6%. In other words, the highway may never ascend more than 6 vertical feet over a distance of 100 feet. Any rate of change that's shown on a graph may have a sloped gradient. Suppose the graph's horizontal axis shows the passage of time and its vertical axis shows some activity. If the activity is happening very fast, then the gradient of the line on the graph will be steep, but if it's slow, the gradient will be gentle, or gradual. Retrograde: 1. Moving or performed in a direction that is backward or opposite to the usual direction. 2. Moving toward a worse or earlier state. For the government to cover up the findings of its scientific research institutes was clearly a retrograde step. Retrograde describes backwardness of one kind or another. If a country decided to go back to amputating the limbs of criminals, we might call that policy retrograde. A retrograde view of women might be one that sees them basically as housekeepers. Mars and Jupiter show retrograde, backward, motion at some stages of their orbits, though this is only because of the way we see them from the Earth, not because of any real backward movement. Reg, from the Latin regula, meaning rule, has given us many English words. Something regular follows a rule of some kind, even if it's just a law of nature. A regime can be a form of rule or government. To regulate an industry means to make and enforce rules, or regulations, for it. Removing such rules is called deregulation. Regimen: a regular course of treatment, usually involving food, exercise, or medicine. As part of his training regimen, he was now swimming 2 miles, running 7 miles, and bicycling 15 miles every day. Americans love self-improvement, so they're constantly adopting regimens, skincare regimens, low cholesterol regimens, weight loss regimens, and the like. A course of medication may be complicated enough to deserve the name regimen, and a rehab regimen may require having your activities monitored at a treatment center. Mental regimens can also be valuable. Researchers are finding that minds that get the most exercise seem to last the longest. Interregnum: 1. The time during which a throne is vacant between 2 successive reigns or regimes. 2. A period during which the normal functions of government or control are suspended. During the week-long interregnum between the CEO's death and the appointment of a new CEO, she felt that she was really running the whole show. Every time a pope dies, there's an interregnum period before a new one is elected by the cardinals. In most democratic systems, however, the law specifies who should take office when a president or prime minister dies unexpectedly, and since the power usually passes automatically, there's no true interregnum. The question of succession, that is, of who should take over when a country's leader dies, has often presented huge problems for countries that lacked a constitution, and in monarchies it hasn't always been clear who should become king or queen when a monarch dies. The interregnum following the death of Edward VI in 1553, for instance, was briefly suspended when Lady Jane Grey was installed as queen. 9 days later she was replaced by Mary Tudor, who sent her straight to the Tower of London. Regalia. 1. The emblems and symbols of royalty. 2. Special or official dress. The governor seems to enjoy life in the governor's mansion and all the regalia of office more than actually doing his job. Just as regal describes a king or queen, that is, a ruler, regalia originally meant the things, and especially the dress and decoration, that belong exclusively to a monarch. The British monarchy's regalia include the crown jewels, crown, scepter, orb, sword, etc., that lend luster to royal coronations. Academic regalia, the caps, gowns, and hoods worn by students receiving their degrees, link institutions to their past by preserving the dress worn at universities since their beginnings in the Middle Ages, when long hooded robes were needed for warmth.